Hello, welcome to the Virtual Properties Realty Loading Docs training within your Lone Wolf Wolf Connect. Right now you can see that we're currently on the login page of your Wolf Connect. If you do not have a username or password at this point, please contact your administration team and they will be able to set that up for you. Please keep in mind that if you ever do lose your password or need to reset your password, you do have two links right down below which will allow you to do exactly that. For now, let's go ahead and let's hit the login button here, and we're going to log into our Wolf Connect. Today we'll be logging into the Wolf Connect as Nakia Brooks, so keep in mind that that is the information we will be seeing. Once you do first log into the Wolf Connect, you're going to be brought to the Wolf Connect home screen. On the home screen here, you can see things like office links, office news, new company listings, photo albums, and any votes that the office is holding. For today, we're going to focus on loading docs and the ability to add documents to your listings and also to your transactions. Before we get into the actual document uploads and loading doc functionality, I want to take you to a couple areas on your agent profile. In order to access your agent profile very quickly, right up top in the left-hand corner beside your name, you're going to see a little settings cog. Let's go ahead and let's click on that. Once we do click on that settings cog, we're going to be brought to our agent profile. On the agent profile, there's two areas that I do want to bring you to. First of all, let's scroll down on our main profile page, and I want to bring your attention to the loading docs username email. We're going to touch on this email address a little bit later on in our session, but I do want to take a moment and explain what this is. This loading docs username email allows your buyers, sellers, lawyers, whoever it happens to be, and the ability to email documents straight to the Wolf Connect clipboard. Again, this loading docs username email allows buyers, sellers, lawyers, or other contacts the ability to email documents straight to your loading docs clipboard. And a little bit later on in our session today, we're going to touch on the clipboard. And again, we'll be touching on this email address. Let's go ahead and let's scroll all the way back up to the top. The next area that I do want to take you to is the messaging tab over here on the left-hand side of your profile. Let's go ahead and click messaging. This messaging tab shows us where and how you receive your messages from the Wolf Connect system. I do want to point out that up top here, it's going to show the email address or phone number that you currently have set up. If you would like to add an additional address, feel free to click the Add button right over here, and that will allow you to add an additional email, text, or mobile address in order to receive messages to. Simply enter the address or phone number, mark whether it's primary or not, and indicate what format you would like to receive this email or message in. Either full HTML, including all pictures, coloring, things like that, simple HTML, which strips out pictures but still keeps formatting, or text, which is plain text, strips out any formatting, font changes, or pictures. Once you're complete, click Save. For now, let's click Cancel. You'll notice here that you have a number of different toggles. Within this toggle area, green means on and red means off. Simply click on the toggle in order to change whether it is on or off. Let's go ahead and let's scroll down. I want to bring your attention to the loading docs area right here close to the bottom of the screen. These are notifications that are tied to loading docs, and you'll see that there are 3 different notifications. You can be notified when a document is overdue, when a document is complete, or when a document is marked incomplete. We do recommend that you leave these notifications turned on so that you can receive these notifications when a document is marked overdue, complete, or incomplete. Once you make any change to the screen, please be sure to save. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll scroll all the way back up. And we're going to go back to our home page by clicking on the little Office tab to the right-hand side. So for today's session, we're going to go ahead and we're going to start off with listings. And then after we talk about listings, we'll move over to transactions. And once we're complete talking about transactions, we'll move over to loading docs. First things first, let's go ahead and let's click Manage under Listings. Once we access the Manage area of the Listings module, this is actually going to bring up a listing of all the virtual properties listings. Please keep in mind that you'll only be able to see certain information and you'll only be able to manage the listings that are your own. Please see at the very top you do have a number of different filter options where you can filter listings by office, by the listing agent, property type, the MLS source, the status, and you can even search by the address or MLS number and so on and so forth. If you do know the address that you're looking for, feel free to just type in the address here and the system will automatically start searching. I do also want to point out that if you ever do want to search for listings based on a price range, you do have the option to do so right over here. For our training session today, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a listing and then we'll go ahead and manage the documents attached to that listing. First thing we need to do in order to do that is click on Add Entry right down here. Please keep in mind that we are integrated with both FMLS and GAMLS. This means that once you upload a listing to your listing service, it will then sync down to your Wolf Connect system, although that is a timed process. So in this situation, if we go ahead and we upload the listing to our listing service, and we see that it is not in the Wolf Connect system quite yet, we can still add that listing, and then when it is received from the listing service, it's going to marry those two listings together. Let's go ahead and we'll do that together. First of all, let's click Add Entry. You'll notice that a number of fields here do have a red asterisk. That means that this field is mandatory. So let's go ahead and let's fill out some information. First, we'll select our property type. I'm going to select residential. Let's pop in our listing price. We'll say our price today is $299,900. We need to put in a listing date, and we'll pick today's date. And if you would like to put any other pertinent information, feel free to do so. And down here, we're going to put 123 virtual test drive. And right down below, we'll put our city, our state, and we can put in our zip code. Okay. If we do have our future MLS number, the MLS number that will be coming down from the board, please be sure to select your board and also enter the future MLS number. Again, once you enter this information, when that listing is received from the listing service, it will marry this manually entered listing and the listing from the board together. So this is a very important step. Let's go ahead, scroll down to the bottom, and of course, after you enter any information, you'll want to hit Save. Perfect. We've gone ahead and we've saved that listing. Now that we've saved our listing, the other tabs are now available. For today's training purposes, we're going to go to the very last tab, which is the Documents and Tasks tab. This Documents and Tasks tab, this is where we're going to be able to enter any listing documents that are associated to this listing. Now let's go ahead, and I'm just going to zoom out on my screen a little bit just so that we can see this a tad bit better. Perfect. So right now what we're seeing here is a fair bit of information, and I will explain what we're seeing on the screen. So first of all, I'll explain that over here on the left-hand side are the documents and tasks associated with this listing. This is a predetermined list that the office has put together for you. So these are the most general documents or tasks that pertain to this listing. On the right-hand side, this is our clipboard. So these are the available documents that we've uploaded that we can attach to these holding areas on the left-hand side. Right up top, you're going to realize that there is a legend showing what each of the different colors means on this screen. And we'll go ahead and we'll touch on this a little bit further in just a few moments. Okay, so first of all, let's say that we've already gone ahead and we've uploaded a few documents, what we can see here. If I click on the little arrow, you're going to see that this new listing documents is going to expand to show me the pages involved. If I click, you can see that it then expands. Let's minimize that. If we do need to upload additional documents to our clipboard here, we have two options to do so. The first one that we'll touch on is the Upload Documents button here. Under Upload Documents, if I click on that button there, it's going to allow me to browse my computer and find the necessary document that I would like to upload. For our purpose here, let's go ahead and I'm going to upload this new listing documents. Select that, click Open, and we'll give the system just one moment there in order to upload that document to our clipboard. And here we have it. Keep in mind that right now we've simply uploaded that document to our clipboard. We have yet to attach that document to this listing. In order to attach a document to a listing, it's simply a drag and drop. So we have our new listing documents here. Let's expand that. You'll notice that we can see all the pages. Either we can select to move over all the document, or we can choose individual pages. Keep in mind at this point, you can also preview the entire document by using the preview button, or we can preview individual pages by selecting the page and hit preview. For example, if we wanted to see what page number 1 is in this document, click preview, and you'll notice that'll open up a preview where we can see what that document is. From this point, please keep in mind that you can save or print, but for now, we'll simply hit cancel. Once we are ready to upload this new listing document to our actual listing, we need to go ahead and expand the area that we would like to move this document into. So for example, listing agreement, once we hit the arrow, you'll notice that it expands. I simply need to select the document from my clipboard, click, and drag it over in order to attach it. And you'll notice that that area is now highlighted yellow because it is waiting for me to release. But let's hold off on that for one moment and let's move that back. If I did want to just simply move over one page, I simply select the page I want to move and then drag it over. Well, let's move that back for a moment. Similarly, if I would like to upload multiple pages, by holding Control on my keyboard, I can select multiple pages to move. So if I know that my listing agreement is pages 1 through 4, I simply hold Control, select the pages I would like to use, and drag those pages over. For now, let's go ahead and let's drag all pages. You'll now notice that we have our new listing documents attached to our listing agreement holding place. You will also notice that on the right-hand side, that new listing documents 1 is no longer available because we are now using it. At this point, we have a couple choices to make. We can either remove this, which will bring it back over to our clipboard. We can preview this document, which will bring up the preview screen to see what this document is. And we can either submit it or save it. Keep in mind that this complete button will not be available. If I know that everything's looking good and I want to go ahead and send this over to my admin team to approve, I can click Submit. If I would like to simply save this document and review it at a later time and then submit, I can click Save. Or if I would like to cancel this, I can click Cancel. For now, let's go ahead and click Submit. You will notice that we have just submitted this document. You can see here we have our version history, which is going to show any documents that have been submitted to our listing agreement holding cell. You will also notice that this now has a status of yellow. If we look at our legend right up the top, you'll notice that yellow means not yet approved. That means that you sent it over to your admin team, but they have not reviewed it as of yet and have not marked it complete or incomplete. With that being said, there are a number of other statuses. You'll notice that a white box means that there is no file attached yet. So you can see on our other items here, such as our lead-based paint exhibit or our amendments, they are showing up as white simply because we have not uploaded a document as of yet. Anything that displays as red means that this document or task is overdue. And you'll notice that in the column right here, it does dictate a due date, and for the items down below with no due date, there is no due date specified. Orange means that this document has been reviewed by the admin team and it has been marked as incomplete. Let's say that it's missing a signature or a date or whatever it happens to be. You'll notice that, as we talked about, yellow means not yet approved. Green means complete, which means that the admin team have reviewed the document and everything looks good and they have given it a complete status. And lastly, we have blue, which means that this document has not been submitted as of yet. You will see a blue status if you come in here, upload a document, and rather than submitting, you click Save. That means that you have saved the document to the placeholder, but you have not yet submitted. Okay, so let's say, for example, your admin team contacts you and they have marked the document as incomplete. If a document is marked incomplete, it means that you need to come into the system and upload the new version of that document. Keep in mind that if a document is marked incomplete, the admin will also provide the reasoning behind why it was marked incomplete. So let's say, for example, on our listing agreement, we were missing a signature and we now need to go in and upload another document. We can do so by clicking on Upload Document. I'm going to upload my new listing documents once again. We'll just give the system one moment to load that to my clipboard over here on the right-hand side. And we can see that here. I'm going to expand it, and I'm going to upload my new listing documents file. And again, we'll hit Submit. You will notice that any document that I upload here, there is always going to be a version history. So it's going to show the first version that I uploaded. You can see that here, V1, New Listed Documents. And then you can see the second one that I just uploaded. The most recent version is the one that the office is going to use. Okay, let's minimize that for a moment. I do also want to point out that there is a secondary way to upload documents to your clipboard. And here you can see the new Email Documents button. If I click on that button there, you'll see that it has a little pop-up for me. And I'll go ahead and I'll read this out for you. Want the ability to email your Loading Docs clipboard? Share the Loading Docs email address below with your contacts, including buyers, sellers, lawyers, and outside brokers. They can email PDF documents to this email address, and the documents will automatically be uploaded to your Loading Docs clipboard. You can also email PDF documents to your own Loading Docs email address. And you can see there it gives us what our Loading Docs email address is, and since I am logged in as Nakia Brooks, you can see his email address there for Loading Docs. Please keep in mind that there are a couple of tips listed at the bottom. So all emails must have a PDF attached. Each PDF attached to the email must be smaller than 10 megabytes. And lastly, you can only attach up to 5 PDFs per email. So again, for an item to be uploaded to your clipboard by using this email address, the email must have a PDF attached. The PDF must be smaller than 10 megabytes, so each PDF needs to be smaller than 10 megabytes. And you can only attach up to a max of 5 PDFs per email. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's click OK here. So again, provided that I had a buyer or seller email to my Loading Docs email address, that would automatically get uploaded to my Loading Dots clipboard here. Very convenient and a very easy way to get your documents into the system here. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead, and you can see I have another document here, my seller disclosure agreement. I'm going to expand my seller disclosure, and I'm going to expand my seller disclosure agreement on my clipboard here, and I'm going to move over all pages. Okay, you can notice that that's now displaying here. It's no longer on my clipboard because I now have it in use, and I can go ahead and submit this. Perfect. And you can see that my seller disclosure now has a status of yellow as well, since it is not yet approved. Okay. So now we've gone ahead and we have added in a couple documents to our listing here. Of course, you're going to want to satisfy all these different documents and tasks before you move on. But let's say, for example, on this listing, amendments is not something that applies. And you can see here we have an amendments placeholder, but let's say on this listing there are no amendments that need to be uploaded. You need to remove this placeholder, otherwise you're going to get notifications for this. Let's go ahead and expand the amendments. I want you to bring your attention up to the very top here. You can see the Remove Item button, and I can click Remove Item. Are you sure you want to delete the amendments from your current checklist? I can click Yes. Again, any items that do not apply to this listing checklist, please be sure to remove. Let's go ahead, I'll expand disclosures, and I'm going to remove this item as well. But very similar, let's say we need to add an additional item to this checklist. You can simply click the Add Item at the very top, where you can then choose a task, and you can see there's a number of tasks that are available for you to use here. If you would like to add a task, such as place sign on property or prepare flyers and brochures, feel free to select that item in order to add it to your checklist. You'll notice that we have quite a number of items showing up here. And you can see we have a number of pages, a total of 302 items. If I go to my next page, such as page number 2, and let's say for this particular listing, the GAR B1 Protect Yourself When Selling a House document is something that I need to add. I simply select that item by clicking on it, and you will notice that we now have a placeholder for that document, where I can then upload the document to my clipboard and simply drag it over to the GAR B1 Protect Yourself When Buying a Home placeholder. But let's go ahead, and for our purposes right now, I'm going to remove that by selecting it and clicking Remove Item. Before we leave this screen, I do want to point out that you do have the option to print all. So if you would ever like to print all the documents that you have attached to your checklist here, feel free to click Print All to do so. Okay, perfect. So we've gone ahead, we've added our listing, we popped in our future MLS number, we've gone ahead and we've added in our documents and tasks, but let's say that this listing now turns into a transaction. Okay? Bear with me for one moment. I'm going to hop back to the info page of my listing here. Let's go back to our list for a moment. And you can see that we are now sitting on our list. From this point, what I want to do is find my listing that I recently entered. I'm going to select that listing to have that listing open up for me. And what I want to do is I want to take the MLS number, and I'm just going to copy that here. When we get into our transaction, I'm going to show you why I want to copy that transaction number. From this point, let's move forward, and now we're going to add in the transaction for this listing now that we are saying that it is sold. Right up top, you can see that we have the transactions area where I can simply click the Add button here in order to add in my transaction. Let's go ahead and let's click Add. First of all, you're going to need to select your office. And from this point, we can simply enter all of our transaction details. If this is a virtual properties listing, you can simply paste the MLS address. And this is what I just copied. You'll notice that it's going to find the listing that's in our system, where I can then select that listing and it will populate the data for me. You can see we have our number, our street name, our city, and so on and so forth. Of course, on a transaction, there's certain items that still need to be defined, such as the classification. This is where you can define what type of transaction this is. What is the classification behind it? Is this an office double-ender? Is it a listing side, an agent double-ender, a BPO, and so on and so forth? For our purposes here, let's select listing side. What is the property type? Is it a residential, commercial, rental or lease, land or land lot? For our purposes here, let's select residential. It is extremely important that you select the correct classification and property type. This is what is going to dictate what type of document and task checklist is attached to this transaction. And let's continue entering our fields. We have our sell price up here, which has defaulted to the listing price. So of course, if it's sold for more or less, we will need to go ahead and adjust that sell price. Next up, we have our offer date. For your purposes, what you will want to enter here is the binding date. Let's go ahead and pop in our binding date. Let's say that our binding date is today, March the 17th. Your close date, we're going to say that our close date is on the 31st of this month. You'll also notice that right down below it automatically adds the listing agent, where we can then enter the side count and gross commissions by simply clicking the pen and pencil icon here. Let's go ahead and let's do that. Since we are on the listing side, we will get a total of 1 side count. We can then enter either the gross percentage or the gross commission. If I enter the gross percentage, let's say 2.5%, it is going to look at the sale price and automatically calculate the agent gross commission. Also, if I enter the agent gross commission, it will automatically calculate the agent gross percentage for me. So please keep that in mind. Let's go ahead and change that back to 2.50. And it's going to update the gross commission for me, where I can then click Save. And you'll notice we now have our side count and our gross commission. But let's say, for example, you're working with another agent where each of you is only getting half a side count on the listing. Very easy to manage. We just need to hit the Edit button here. Give the first agent 0.5. And I'm going to update the gross percentage here to 1.25. And click Save. We would then need to add in the next agent who has that secondary 0.5 side count. So again, add commission. Simply search for the agent's name. You'll see also listing side. We can pop in the side count of 0.5. And we can also populate the gross percentage and click Save. And you will notice that we now have both of our agents who are on the listing side, and we have the side count of 0.5. For now, I'm going to go ahead and delete this secondary agent. And we're going to change Nakia Brooks back to a whole side count. And let's correct that gross commission again. And let's hit save. Okay. Once we have in all of our transaction details, we've entered in our commission information, we can go ahead and click the Save button at the very bottom of the screen here. Let's go ahead and click Save. Once we save the screen, additional areas are going to become available to us. You'll notice that we have a conditions area where we can enter any contingencies. We have a seller and buyer area where we can add in sellers and buyers by simply clicking the Add Seller or Buyer. You can simply select your contact type, whether it's a buyer or a seller. And if you are using the CRM tool within your Wolf Connect, you can simply type in the seller or buyer's name and have their information automatically populate. If not, simply select your contact type and fill in the information. I do want to point out over on the right-hand side, this little checkbox right down here called Send Moving Wolf Emails. If you would like your buyer or seller to receive emails from the Moving Wolf campaign of discounts and things of that nature during their moving process, please be sure to enter their email address and be sure to check off Send Moving Wolf Emails. For now, let's click Cancel. You will notice that you also have the option to add in business contacts to this transaction by clicking on Add Business Contact. Again, you can select your contact type, whether it's a escrow company or an attorney or a landlord, whatever it happens to be. You can choose what side this person is on, whether it is the listing side or the selling side. If this individual or this company is already entered in your business contacts, you can search to find that contact and have their information automatically populated. If you are not using the CRM tool, feel free to manually add in the information here. Keep in mind that any area with a red asterisk is a mandatory field. For now, let's click Cancel. Okay. So now we've gone ahead, we've added in all the necessary information we need to. At this point, I can go ahead and I can edit my commission information or my transaction details, or I can click Submit, which will then send this transaction to my admin team for them to process. Once you're complete entering your information, you will always want to click Submit. Okay. Let's move over and I want to show you a few areas over on the left-hand side of this transaction. You'll notice that there's a Documents and Tasks area and also a Notes area. First of all, let's go into Documents and Tasks. Under Documents and Tasks, you'll notice that it looks very similar to the screen that we saw on our listing. This operates the exact same way, but you can see the checklist here now pertains to a transaction rather than a listing. So for example, you can see that we have an area here for our purchase and sale agreement. Let's go ahead and let's upload that one together. So we'll go ahead and we'll expand that area. And I'm going to look at my clipboard and I can see that I do not have a purchase and sale agreement uploaded here yet. So let's go ahead, click Upload Documents. I'm going to browse my computer, find my agreement of purchase and sale, and open that. And we'll just give that one moment to upload, and there we have it. So now we have our agreement of purchase and sale showing up right here. Let's expand that, and we can see that we have all of our pages here. Again, you can preview it if you'd like to make sure it is the correct document. But for now, let's go ahead and click All and drag that over. Once we do that, that will no longer be available on our clipboard. And you can see that it's no longer available here, where we can then go ahead and submit that. And you'll notice that that is now given a not yet approved status, and we can see our history here showing that we've uploaded our agreement of purchase and sale, and we have our date stamp of when that was done. If you would like to, You can copy this, you can view it, or you can delete it. But let's go ahead and let's minimize this for now. Again, very similar to what we saw in the listings area, if this transaction does not need an amendment number 2, please go ahead and expand that area and remove that item. So any holding cells that you do not need, feel free to remove those items. Any item that does have an asterisk or a star beside it, those are mandatory items that cannot be removed. For example, if I expand my earnest money and click Remove Item, you can see that this document is not allowed to be removed because that is an item that needs to be attached to every transaction. And similar to what we saw in the listings area, if I go ahead and click Add Item, so let's say for example, I need to add the amendment number 2, click Add Item, find my amendment number 2, select that, and you'll notice that that placeholder or that checklist item has now been re-added. So if you ever do delete an item and then later on need to add that back, that is not a problem. Just find that item in the Add Item and re-add it. Okay, let's move on from here. If I look down, the next area that we're going to touch on is the notes area. In the notes area, this is where you're going to be able to add in any notes. If you would like to communicate anything for this transaction, feel free to hop into the notes area. You will see, and I know it's not displaying right now, but you will have access to a Add Note button right down here, where you can simply click the button, type in your note, and save. Those notes will be saved here on your note screen going forward. That will also notify your admins that there has been a note attached to this transaction. Okay, let's go through a couple different scenarios. So we're all done with this transaction. Again, remember that you always want to go ahead and submit this transaction by clicking the Submit button, and that is what is going to send this transaction to your admin team. Okay, let's go ahead and let's go up to the very top and let's add in another transaction together. Again, we select the Add button. We can then select our office. Okay, so let's say that rather than being the listing side of this transaction, we are the selling side. If that is the case and you are the selling side, which means that the transaction is not a virtual properties transaction, you will not be able to populate the information by the MLS number because it is not a transaction that is in the system. In this situation, you will need to enter in the transaction details. Again, be sure to select all the areas that do have a red asterisk. And very similar to before, we add in our property type, all of our pertinent information, and we would then need to add in our commission details. You'll notice that since we have selling side specified, when I click Add Commission, it's going to default to selling rather than listing. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead. We're not going to enter this transaction, but I did want to take a moment and specify that if you are on the selling side, the transaction does still need to be entered in the system, but you will not be able to quickly populate the details by entering the MLS information. Let's go ahead and we're going to cancel out of here for now. I do want to point out that at any point in time, you can view your transaction list by going up under Transactions and selecting the Manage button. Once I select Manage, it's going to open up My Transactions. Okay, so keep in mind there that you will be able to see your own transactions once you hit your Manage area. The next area that I do want to bring you to, and let's hop away from this screen for a moment, let's click Office on the right-hand side to bring us back to our home page. Now that we've gone over your agent profile, we've touched on adding a listing and adding the documents to the listing. We've touched on adding a transaction and your Manage page where you can see your own transactions. The next area that I want to bring you to is the Loading Docs module here. So within the Loading Docs area, the first area that we're going to touch on is the clipboard. So let's go ahead and let's click Clipboard. Again, select your office. And this is going to bring me to my Loading Docs clipboard, which is a blown up version of what we are seeing when we are adding in the documents to our listings or to our transactions. This is a way that you can manage the items on your Loading Docs clipboard without being in a transaction or a listing. So again, to get here, we just click on the clipboard icon right up here underneath Loading Docs. You'll notice that any items that I currently have sitting on my clipboard will display, where I can then expand. And I can view this document if I would like by using the preview, or I can preview it by using the preview right up here, or I can delete this by using the delete button. At this point, I can also upload documents by clicking Upload Documents and browse on my computer. Or again, I can click the New Email Documents where it will give me the description of how to use the Loading Docs email functionality. If you do ever have any questions regarding this screen, please feel free to use the little video tutorial link here, which will open up a video tutorial of your clipboard. The next area that I would like to bring you to is the Loading Docs Manage area. So let's go ahead and select Manage underneath Loading Docs. Again, you will need to select your office. And at this point, this is going to show you your information for your listings or your transactions. So you'll notice here that this agent area will be specified for you, and it will default and only show your agent information. I do want to take a moment and explain a few items on this page. So first of all, we have our type. So we can view our listings, or we can view our transactions. So you can see here currently it shows our active listings. If I want to change my status, I can view all my listings, active listings, sold listings, or pending listings. Feel free to select whichever status you would like to use. You also have the option at the very top to search by a transaction, listing number, or address. Currently, we're looking at the type of listings. Let's go over to transactions for a moment by clicking on Transactions. And you'll notice this is now updated to show me my transactions. Again, I can search by transaction or listing number or address. And down below I can specify the status of the transactions, either all statuses, open, closed, or fallen through. This screen here is a very, very powerful screen which allows you to have a bird's eye view of your whole Loading Docs process. So all the transactions or listings and what needs to happen for each transaction or listing and the documents attached to those. I do want to point out over on the right hand side that you can filter by document status as well. So if you would like to see any listing or transaction that has an overdue status and only an overdue status, I can uncheck all. And then what I'll need to do is only check the overdue. And at that point, it's going to show me any transaction or listing, depending on what I have selected here, that has an item that is overdue. Let's go ahead and let's go back and let's select all again. Okay, so for now, what I can do is I can expand my transaction here, our 123 virtual test, and it's going to show me my checklist and all the items that are currently on that checklist. And you can see we have quite a number of items that have not yet had a document attached. And again, we can tell that because it is showing up as white, which means that there is no file. And at this point, I can go ahead and upload documents and then attach them to the necessary areas. Okay. So again, this Loan Docs Manage page, it allows you to go in and see everything that's happening for your listings or transactions and the documents attached to them. It is a great way to be able to see exactly what needs to be done for each one of your listings or transactions. It is much easier to come into the Loan Docs Manage page and be able to see everything rather than going into each individual listing and viewing what documents have or have not yet been uploaded and what needs to happen with those, or going into the individual transactions and viewing what has or has not yet been uploaded to those transactions. So this Loan Docs Manage page is a very powerful tool that is available to you for managing your loading docs documents for your listings and for your transactions. One last thing that I do want to show you on this screen here is that you do have the ability to add a listing and add a transaction from this page. Let's go ahead and let's hop back to our office, which will bring us to our home page. So again, we've gone over how to manage your agent profile by clicking on this little settings cog at the top beside your agent name. We've talked about adding a listing, the future MLS number, and attaching the documents to that listing. We've talked about adding a transaction and adding the documents to that transaction. And lastly, we've talked about our Loan Docs clipboard and our Loan Docs Manage page. For now, that is all you need to know about managing your loading docs within your Wolf Connect system. If you do have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to contact your administrators at your office. Or we do have a full support team that you can contact at support@lwolf.com. Or you can contact them at 1-866-279-9653. Thank you for watching the webinar, and feel free to hop into your Wolf Connect and start getting the most out of loading docs now. All right. Thank you. Have a great day.